Phineas Newborn. Take it down just a notch, buddy. There we go. There we go. Settle down, sir. Sir, do you have a tip jar handy?
Yes.
Tip jar?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we give this guy
10%, 15%, 20%?
just a couple of dollars.
I got tips for you.
Oh, boy. And there we go. I'm going to push this button right here with my finger.
Get up!
This is Connections.
Soft opening.
Connections.
Soft opening.
Connections.
Soft opening. Soft opening. This is all. This is all. This is all.
Sit back and enjoy the ride, boys.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We knew you'd be here.
Yes, get it out.
Yeah.
Kidding,
Oh,
Tess.
God.
Question of the day. What color was that?
It wasn't.
yeah.
It was clear.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
how much did it weigh? Holy crap, that was a big one.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
what's the gender reveal?
Twins, fraternal.
Yeah, best day ever.
Okay, no, seriously, I was messing around a little bit. Hi, everybody. Hi. So, welcome to Connections, our pre-show. That's Dr. Dave. There's Lizzie said, wait, I can't do it. Wait.
It says wheat?
Lizzie said, wait, I can't get it to work. There we go. This is for the camera. Did you
What are
seriously?
you doing?
Point. I'm trying to point. I don't know. I can't see. Did I not tell you
on
I
here?
cannot see that well today? Hey, Joyce.
Yeah.
Joyce is number one today.
She is number
Yeah,
one.
which means Tommy Hawk must be working. Okay, so welcome to. What did we decide we were going to talk about?
We're going to talk about blood tests, believe it or not, for libido.
Oh.
And why is it important? You know, what is the significance of libido? I mean, it might actually not be you.
Is that different? Is that
Yeah.
different for HJ for the Lipitor? Okay, just checking.
So what?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's okay. We're not on his page. Are we? All right, this is the pre-show. Anyway.
Good thing.
It is a good thing, but it's also editable. Cardoso. Hello, Car. How are you doing? I don't even know what you would... How would you say that? Cardoso? Card?
Yeah, you're asking me.
I don't know.
That's
You're
a
from Lake
joke.
County. Y'all got them fancy names out there.
That is not one of those
Two or
names.
three syllables like Bubba
Yeah.
and Bubba Jr. and Earl Lee.
How are you seeing all these people like that? My thing's not even showing nothing. Stupid Lake County equipment.
Oh, see how it is now? All right, we'll be right back. This is Connections. We're getting ready to do our thing. We're going to talk about libido being a vital
A
sign.
vital sign.
Oh, now you remember?
No, well, you reminded me.
Okay. Stay right there. Oh, boy.
Live from the Connections Studio Suites, it's Connections. Connections is relationship radio.
Hey, y'all. It's that time again. It's me, Melissa Fox, from Good Morning Orlando on News Radio WFLA Orlando, along with my buddy, hashtag Lizzie Said What. Why do they say that? Because every once in a while, you'll be like, oh, my God, Lizzie said what?
Yeah.
And throw a hashtag in front of it. You'll find some weird stuff. The love of McRibs, things like
eggnog.
that. Yeah, eggnog. Tis the season.
Yes,
so
it is.
Imbibe, if you will. Have all of mine, if you don't mind.
Okay, thanks.
Not a fan. Do you like eggnog, Dr. Dave?
I do, especially with a little rum.
There you go. Good rum, though. Dr. David Klein is with us tonight from Stages of Life Medical Institute in beautiful Longwood, Florida, right off of I-4 and 434. As you say, a piano's throw.
A piano's throw off of I-4.
Okay. Now, when we came in tonight, we were like, what do we want to talk about? And Dave always wants to talk about, you two can be like Dr. Dave.
You too can be like me.
And we're like, well, he's a libido again. And we realized while talking about libido that if there's a lack thereof, that's actually a vital symptom of something or a sign of something. Things ain't working right.
Yeah, something wrong.
Something gone wrong.
So what you're saying is that we should be turned on all the time.
Pretty much. Well, what happens is, okay, with men in particular, they have to be on their deathbed before they don't want to get one last whatever. It's like
Right.
I told
Okay.
what I told my former wife, okay, before she fired me. All right. And it went something like this. You're all going to be written out of my will unless I get one, you can love this, one last piece before you bury me.
Ooh.
Right. And so, she didn't think it was very funny. Okay. Her libido was gone. So she was rather rude about the whole thing, as it turns out. But guys are funny. It takes a while before the libido goes away, and it takes something to make it happen, generally speaking. And it's kind of an important thing to know because it's a sign of life, a vital sign. So you have pulse. It's important how many times a minute your heart's beating, if it's beating. You need to know how many times you're breathing per minute. You need to know what your blood pressure is. You need to know what your temperature is.
All these
It's
things
really
are gonna
nice
make
to
my
know your weight
OCD.
and height. However, okay, nobody ever asks
Oh
nobody
my
ever
God,
asks you.
61 that time. Okay.
Yeah. No, but nobody ever asks. Give me on a scale of 1 to 10. How's your libido doing? And perhaps
that's
you,
a- see,
you
and that's a
should.
thing.
But wait a minute, I'm a female, so
Well, you're
does-
expected not to get any.
Yeah.
No, expected not to be asked that question.
Well, no, because
hey, doll, how's your sex
Well,
life?
how's
Yeah.
what's your libido doing? I have a headache. No, I mean there are any number of ways you could answer that question.
I'm on estrogen.
But
Yeah.
isn't it? It seems that if you listen to your mom or your grandmother and your aunts,
Things went
and,
dry
and-
years ago.
oh my God, she was in
TMI.
my head.
Am I right?
Yeah.
No, but isn't it? It's just natural for women to not be turned on after a certain age,
Well,
right?
Well, it depends on what turns them on.
But you see what I'm saying, though, like
Oh, wait, no,
naturally.
actually, no. But the surprising thing is that if you better living through chemistry.
Oh.
So, I have patients that are active, sexually active to completion into their 80s and 90s.
What?
So, yeah. So my dad, before he passed away, the doctors killed him. So by the way, don't listen to everything the doctors tell you.
Okay.
So he did, and they killed him. So he was 92 and he passed away. But when he was 90, my mom was in the nursing home. So she had, memory issues, Alzheimer's. All these nice people she keeps meeting over and over and over again. And so I asked him, I said, Pop, would you like me to get you some Viagra? I mean, what more can a son do for his dad if he's if the son's a doctor,
nice
but to get him
offer.
a bottle of Viagra?
Right.
He was the superintendent of 180 units in a condominium complex that was 90% women.
Oh,
All right.
wow.
Now you want to talk about my dad did fine. So he looked at me incredulously.
Son.
He says, Dave, that's for old people.
Oh.
I was right. That's how
Save your
holy-
malarkey for someone else.
So what I did, is I went and got blood on him to find out what was right about him. And so that's kind of the first part of science is observation.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it about my dad that made him quite, let's just say successful? Okay, and I could tell he was successful because when I'd go to visit him, he had he never had to make any food.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
They're out there wooing him. all the women in their casseroles.
there was some broad coming by handing him something, and so my dad would apologize. Oh, that's just Betty. She's kind of she's all right. It's okay, Dad. How all right is she?
She's a
And
3.
She's
Right.
She's a 3, but I won't kick it
She's
out.
okay, but her mom is better. My dad was a funny kind of guy, so I started getting interested in libido. Why is it that nobody asks 2 questions in a doctor's office except in mine? They don't ask this question. Mrs. Jones, how are you feeling? How are you feeling today? Nobody ever asks that question. That's not important enough to ask you how you're feeling. All they want to know is how's the pustule on your shoulder. Okay, how is the so how are you feeling? Because how are you feeling is a higher order question with regards to the way you're doing. If there's something going on with your sleep, constipation, if you have abdominal pain, chest pain, if you have diabetes, you don't feel right. How are you feeling? Well, I just don't feel right. That's a very important question that nobody ever asks, except for me. But the other one is, gee, let's talk about your libido. And every once in a while, you'll get an interesting question. or an answer to your question. Say, okay, well, let's talk about your libido. Is it any good or any bad? And then they'll say, hey, look at my spouse. How would your libido be? And I'm thinking, well, that's a pretty reasonable question. And it actually answers it appropriately, because one of the ways you can lose libido is to lose your attraction to your partner, because attraction and libido are two different things.
Okay.
So what does libido mean? Okay, libido, it's life force. You're wanting to procreate. You feel well enough to go expend valuable energy to try to procreate. That's make a baby to those of you that didn't that went to public school.
Oh, Greek
Okay.
to me.
Yeah. So that's kind of what this is all about. And so what is it? How can you turn the brain off? Now, our brains are really very interesting buckets of minestrone soup. And so there's certain chemicals that float around that make you feel better. Certain chemicals float around make you feel worse. And what's interesting about it is that there are chemicals that float around that make you feel a lot of other kinds of ways, and libido being one of them. So I started thinking in terms of, all right, I think I've got this testosterone thing mastered. Okay, I got it. I understand it. After about 15,000 people over the past 5 years, that's a lot in a short period of time. I think I got it mastered. 40 years of looking at people, 5 years looking hard at that, looking hard at estrogen, looking hard at progesterone. What's interesting, actually, is that if you keep studying, okay, and this is a home lesson for my family. When somebody looks at you and says, "I've already studied enough," you know that you're ready for the boneyard. So what hormone is it? What hormone imbalance? What sorts of things can you look at in terms of hormonal chemistry? These are measurable values that will influence libido, make it go up or make it go down. And it's remarkable that the research has been done. The data is out there. I didn't have to do it, but it makes it interesting. So there's a hormone in particular that I've been paying closer attention to over the past several months called prolactin. Now, you look at the if you got the notice what our talk was going to be on tonight, it was going to be on libido. You're thinking, the guy's going to talk about testosterone again, and maybe I should. Well, he's going to talk about estrogen for women, and maybe I should, or I might be talking about DHEA. All three of those hormones will influence libido. They'll influence sexuality in men and women both. But what's interesting is one called prolactin, and prolactin is a very, very interesting, nifty hormone that causes your body, women's body, to secrete milk. But in men, it does something interesting. It causes erectile dysfunction.
Oh.
In where?
ED. It causes
In
women?
No,
in men.
in
Oh,
men.
in men.
Men.
I thought you said
In women, no, in women, it will decrease libido, but it's not an irreparable problem.
Oh.
Okay, in men, if the estrogen goes up, it destroys it. In women, if estrogen goes up, it seems to help it. But with prolactin, it decreases libido in both, but in men, it trashes it. And not just because of the way it works on the brain, but because of the way that it works on the hydraulics, as it turns out. So it is a treatable cause of erectile dysfunction. So on this station, as well as many others, there are lots and lots of commercials looking for medications, treatments for those things between you and your old lady, and it may be a simple matter of a prolactin level.
Arthur's watching on our Facebook Live feed. He said, "Sounds like snake oil to me."
No, actually, snake oil is a different chemical.
Totally different. We can discuss that in another show if you like there, Artie. We'll be right back. It's Connections.
Connections is Relationship Radio.
All right, you maggots, break's over. Up, up, up. Let's go!
It's Connections.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get drunk while I listen to you.
He's been saying stuff like, "Get your hand out of my pants!" all day.
Who is this joker again?
I think I've met those guys before. Not exactly intelligent.
Yeah, we try. Welcome back to Connections, Thursday nights on News Radio WFLA Orlando, and our podcasts are available wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Try iHeartRadio. Those are good ones as well. Lizzie's here with us tonight. Hashtag Lizzie Said What. Dr. David Klein from Stages of Life Medical Institute is here, and I am Melissa Fox with 2 X's. And unbeknownst to anyone else who's watching us on our Facebook Live feed or Periscope or any of those things, we're actually talking about libido as a sign of your health.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. Please enlighten us just a little bit more about this whole vital thing. Now, as you were saying before we went to break, right, there's a lot of ED and prostate type advertisements that
Lots
we
of
hear
them.
on the radio, and yet you really don't need that.
You may not.
So
Or
what
it
do
may
you
be
need?
a huge waste of money.
But what does the prostate? If you have a inflamed prostate or a situation with that, is that going to create your testosterone levels to be low and not
Doesn't
be,
influence
no?
it.
Doesn't it?
No.
Prostatitis, inflammation or infection of the prostate, actually affects 1/3 of all men over the age of 50.
Okay.
So it's hugely prevalent.
Right.
And there's just the way these things go. And infection down there is a problem because once E. coli or Proteus or Klebsiella, whatever the heck it is, that gets into the prostate, it never comes out.
Ooh.
I want you to imagine a sponge, a kitchen sponge.
I don't want to.
And you spill something along the lines of Hawaiian Punch or even Kool-Aid onto the counter, and you take that sponge and you wipe it up. Now try to get that color out of the sponge.
Use bleach.
You can't. No, but you never get the particles out. They're
Oh.
gone. The particles are stuck in there. The color is actually teeny tiny little dots of pigment.
Oh, okay.
They never come out.
Dang it.
Why is that? And that's because they get stuck in those little holes in the sponge. With a prostate, that's where the bacteria go, and they don't clear easily. It is a lifelong illness.
How do you get that out? I mean, I know that's
You
a whole
can't.
nother show. You can't.
Oh, it's a whole nother show. The
Yeah,
better
but
question is how do you get it? Okay, and that's another show yet
Okay.
again.
Okay,
it's all done
yeah,
hydraulically.
let's do that as another show. Okay, but anyway,
Yeah,
so
that's
so-
kind
so-
of that's
so
for
the-
older people.
Okay, so the inflamed prostate really doesn't have anything to do with the.
No, it has very
Okay,
little to
okay,
do with
just
it.
asking.
But the
for a
prostate
friend.
does enlarge when it gets infected or inflamed. On an average day, I probably see 6 men with prostatitis. And so there are
that's
ways
fun.
you can treat it, but it's never curable. You can control it. The urologists say, oh, yeah, we can fix it. And then they come back 6 months later with prostatitis again. If you fixed it, why are you having to treat them every 6 months for the same infection?
Why would you tell somebody that you can fix it?
Because that's what they do.
Well.
That's just part of the way it is. You may believe in your heart of hearts you can fix it. Frankly, in 42 years, the people that I saw early on in the career with seeing whomever, okay, they never get rid of the prostatitis. Now they may get rid of their prostate. It may come out and end up in a jar. That can happen. But a prostate, once it's infected, it tends to stay that way. So you can knock it down, you can control it, but you really can't clear it very easily. That is just the way that it goes. You stay on antibiotics the rest of your life. You may not be able to measure the bacteria, but then you end up with all manners of other issues.
Right.
So what is it about hormonal control of emotions? Now, just having a daughter, okay, that's between the ages of 12 and 16, that's provided that they live that long, is that you want to kill them because they end up with this premenstrual syndrome, PMS. And then when they get older, you still want to kill them because they still have PMS. And when does it seem to stop? When they hit menopause. So guys learn this, okay? They realize that there are going to be 3, maybe 4 days a month where you're best keeping your head down. You learn this in the military. Keep your head down. Why? Because you're going to get it chopped off. And then all of a sudden, the rest of the time, they're nice. And they apologize sometimes, usually not, but sometimes they apologize for their behavior. Hormonal
girls.
control.
That's
That's
a hard
estrogen,
no.
estrogen dominance. Okay, I've had an office. I've got, I think, 20 women working.
Oh, you
for
got
me.
like 1,000 women in
20
your
women.
office.
They're all
No, it's
ovulating at the same time.
all
too.
ovulate. Yeah, and so I've learned a few things. One of which is how to duck. Okay, I don't know. You just told me. I said, no. All I asked you to do was to open the door. I mean,
I would love to have a
days
camera
off.
follow
Oh.
Dr. Dave during those days.
It
That
would be the ultimate
yes.
reality show.
He brings brownies in, tries to coax him in the kitchen.
You can't know what you
Yeah,
do
it's
is you
good stuff.
No, you don't go in the kitchen. You slide the meat under the door.
Come on now.
It's kind of like you bang, 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 and then
Oh,
you hear
we've
the
lost
snarling,
Lizzie.
and it's awful. So, but this is hormonal imbalance, and we all see it.
Okay.
Now, with men, hormonal imbalance. That's when you go home, and your spouse is watching Oprah and crying,
Yeah.
or crying on the Hallmark Channel. That is not the person you married.
Well, now what if the spouse is a male that
That is a
now
male.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, yeah, you betcha.
Well, we were just talking about PMS. And
Yeah, no.
stuff,
But what it
okay?
is, it's the same process. It's the
Right.
same problem.
Oh, okay.
So you're looking at something called estrogen dominance. So we all recognize this. Oh, yeah, they're just being hormonal. That's another way to get a black eye.
yeah, that'll knock you
Oh
into next
man,
week.
you
Oof.
got that right.
So
Okay.
so
So
okay.
I've learned a few things in life. You never use that phrase, and I also learned never to refer to Tess as my present wife.
Yeah, that was funny that first
That was
time.
funny. No, you don't. I mean,
Oh,
she
no,
bruised
that's
me where
funny.
it doesn't hurt.
All right,
It doesn't
so-
show.
I know.
So say that you're a male and you find yourself being a little more weepy than what you have normally been in your entire life.
And if your
That-
nipples hurt,
Now I know that obviously.
Yeah, actually, that's
See,
tough, and it's really bad
part
for.
of it.
No, and I've learned a few things over the. If you happen to be a surfer, it can knock you out of business.
Oh,
because if those things get sensitive, it's hard to get onto your board.
Oh yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
they bleed. Runners bleed too. There's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
friction.
I've seen that. Yeah, they've lost their nipples. But anyway, so
Well, they didn't need them.
yeah, that's
cat.
true. That's right.
Yeah.
Unless they have a cat. Then when they're a movie like
What?
that, I don't know.
I've got nipples.
Well,
Greg.
so what do you do, put a
Can
little tuna
milk
fish
me?
on it?
There you go. Yes. Yes.
Oh, I got.
Okay,
Now I
so-
understand. I found
okay,
that. Okay, I'm
okay,
picking up. I'm sometimes a little
She's
thick.
moving a little Lake County-ish, but I got there for her.
It's
Thank you.
okay.
Okay, so you're a male. You've been a little bit weepy. You had your testosterone tested, and it is low. But does that mean that their estrogen is
It's high. Yes.
And how
Okay.
can they fix that?
Well, I fix this on a routine, daily basis, and you use it. Giving
Mm-hmm.
the patient aromatase and 5-alpha reductase inhibitors. These are two enzyme inhibitors. And they can be done.
Humana.
Well,
That's
yeah,
all
I
I
know.
heard.
All you need to know out there in listener land, okay, is
Fair
that there are chemicals that we can use to block the enzymatic degradation of testosterone to estradiol. That's all you need to know. Some of them are prescription, and they're fine, except that they tend to cause problems. Or you can do it naturally,
Okay.
which is a little bit more aggravating somewhat, but it's a whole lot more effective. And the reason I mention this is that prolactin is one of these hormones that very few people ever check in men.
So that actually is very important. So if you
Yes, it's
if-
extraordinarily important.
So instead of just having your testosterone test, you should have your prolactin.
Yeah, I've been in this town for 20 years, touting, going out, and if you're going to check your testosterone, also check your estradiol. And you know something? It's starting to happen. It's only taken 20 years. These are
Hey,
these
get it
are
out there, man.
geological durations of time in medicine. 20 years. My God, I'm starting to see the family docs. Not that they understand the ratios, but at least they're doing the testing. And so, but prolactin, okay, is extraordinarily important to know in men if you're interested at all in intimacy. And this is where this is PROLACTIN, and it's not a terribly expensive assay. It just is what it is.
Okay.
So, what's it all about? And really what it is, it's intelligence gathering. You need to know what is happening. You need to measure. You need to evaluate. You need to observe. You need to stir the pot a little bit and see what floats up to the top. So this is what it's all about. So of the hormones that are in your body, what can influence libido? Well, more interesting one is insulin. So when insulin goes up, people are going to go, oh, well, that's good because it helps bring blood sugar down. The answer is no. Most patients with diabetes have very high insulin levels. It's pro-inflammatory and tends to knock down libido by increasing prolactin.
There you go.
See? It
Answer
all
the
comes
question.
around.
It comes around.
Very good. We're with Dr. David Klein. It is accepting new patients, 407-679-3337 or Stages of Life medicalinstitute.com for more information on anything we've talked about.
You're listening to Connections on gabnet.net.
Apparently, we're not TV pretty.
Ah, we're terrific.
Laugh with Connections, weeknights at 10 Eastern on the Connections Radio Network at connectionshow.com.
It's fair. Every
It's not
night on
bad.
connectionshow.com, we run Connection Show.
Yes.
It may not be live, but we do it.
Okay.
Welcome back to Connections. Lizzie's pointing fingers.
I am pointing fingers.
You are pointing fingers. Okay, so we've been talking about, with Dr. David Klein, we've been talking about libido being a vital sign. And in men, you were saying kind of, poke the bear and see what floats to the top.
Pretty much. Well, yeah,
It is
because
kind of
well,
what it's
people come in all the time. Every day, what's wrong with you? What brings a guy to the doctor's office?
A woman.
Traditionally, no, well,
Yeah.
one way or the other. But traditionally, what brings people in? Pain and bleeding.
Yeah.
Pain and bleeding. Women, it's almost always bleeding. Men, pain. Those are the two things. When they came out with Viagra, we started seeing the third thing, which is I can't satisfy my
stuff's not
wife.
working
I can't
correct,
satisfy my wife or my girlfriend. It's not working well.
Okay, now and I got a question about that. Okay, say that your what's that dial? What's the
dial?
What did you,
Just estradiol? You said?
estradiol?
Estradiol. Okay,
thank
yeah,
you.
I'm thinking, wow, we're
So
we're
say-
at 540 on the AM dial.
So say that your estradiol is low, and so you go into a doctor that doesn't check the things like you said to check, and they just give you Viagra. What is that doing? Is that even helping?
It depends. Now, Viagra is interesting stuff. Sildenafil. Interesting stuff. With a guy, you can actually see the end result. When you take a blood pressure med, you can't feel it. You have to go and measure something to see where the blood pressure dropped. With Viagra, you can actually visualize the net effect. Okay, and if it lasts more than 4 hours, then brag about it on Facebook. Okay, so you can see what's going on. But what happens when you use Viagra in women? Do you ever wonder about that?
It's supposedly it doesn't make you sterile or something.
No, it doesn't make anything like that happen.
What happens?
So when it first came out,
I thought we weren't even supposed to touch your fingers with it or something.
oh no, that's testosterone, and that works just fine if you touch it. You just don't want to touch it too much; you'll go blind.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So what is it about sildenafil?
That's what happened to my dad.
So sildenafil, Viagra. So when it first came out, I got jars of this stuff because they were trying to promote it. I'm as a doctor, I'm curious. So I'd like to know how this stuff works.
Sure.
And so, and I'm playing with it.
That's what you're saying.
Well, and it was fine. It was a good excuse. So I decided at some point to do what I so frequently do, and that's to experiment on my family. Okay.
So you gave one to your daughter?
I gave one. No. I couldn't ask her the right questions or really investigate it appropriately because she's only like 6.
Oh.
So yeah, and then that's kind of creepy.
That was
so.
creepy.
What I did was I gave one to my wife, and I said, "Okay, let's see what this does." And I was very disappointed at first. Okay, and what happened was nothing visual. You couldn't see anything happen. You couldn't really even measure anything. But what I found happened, which I was evaluated somewhat later on for a number of reasons.
Listening.
Nicer? You never met my former wife. Okay? Yeah, that's, you don't understand, okay? No, that just isn't, no. There's certain things about her. She was a very good cook. She was okay at cleaning, but nice? No, not so
Not even
much.
with Viagra?
Not even with Viagra. But what it did, though, was it caused pelvic congestion. Now, what do you suppose that means?
Had a cough?
I was going to say, is that like a
no.
kennel cough?
No, what it did was it
cough?
made her insides just tighten up like crazy.
Oh,
okay.
That's a winner.
Oh, it was a winner, but it surprised me. Yes, it was like trying to jam a champagne cork back into the bottle. Okay, and so in any event, so I called the company, it's Pfizer. I said, "Hey,
this is great.
This is really cool." Well, no, when they give you bottles of this stuff to evaluate, they're expecting you to tell them something.
Right.
They're hoping
this,
to. Anyway.
by the way, was back before when you could do
This was like in 1987.
when you could do it. Now you can't. Now you don't get any freebies anymore, hardly.
Well, it all depends on how smart you are.
Oh.
So, all right. So, but these are the sorts of things. So a prepared eye sees what it's prepared to see. It's just the way that it goes. And so when you go into something purely observant, you'll see more. If you go in with a jaded eye, if you go in with, let's say, a prejudice, you will not see anything.
Right.
Prolactin is sort of an interesting hormone. It's not terribly expensive to do the assay. We're talking $30 or $40. If you go to the big box labs, it's about $200. So God bless you if you're stuck that way. We charge the patients $30 to do it. And so it will talk to you with regards to why you may have difficulties with your whittler.
Okay.
So why are you interested? Why does this make any difference? And the answer is because if you want to take away a guy's person, a reason for being, okay, they don't care what you feed them. They don't even really care what their house looks like. It's, the ones that can't really get on, they care about their car, but they all care about that.
Right.
All right? That's
Well,
just
it
the way
makes
that it
sense.
goes.
Right.
Yeah, and so this is a very important observation. Why? Because there are lots of guys out there that are not hammering the nail. They are not doing what needs to happen because hormonally they're not healthy.
You could say their junk is defunct.
That's good. Yeah, I like the way you. That's that. That's that you just nicely done.
We are all 12 here.
We are going to trademark that.
You're right.
So if anybody out there listening, if there is anybody out there still listening, So why do we really care about this stuff? It is a vital sign. How interested are you? Now, I've had people come in, women in particular, they go, look, I just don't like my husband anymore.
Oh, that could be.
And that's a real problem. I mean, that's the way it goes. Or, I can't. Then there are other things that can make libido go to hell. So,
Medicine.
medicine can do it, but even more interestingly, hygiene can do it. So what do you do if your husband's hair stinks? No, I'm not kidding.
I know.
Okay, well, his hair stinks. Okay, well, what does that mean? Where's he going to, I can think of any number of ways that could offend you in the process of getting intimate.
Change the food.
Not necessarily. How about change your hygiene? So that's a possibility. But there are many ways libido can go to hell. But one measurable and fairly easily treatable one is prolactin. What's neat about prolactin is there are medications that will both correct the diabetes as well as correct the prolactin.
Okay.
And it can be done. It's not that difficult. So when you're out there looking at this, hope is not lost. You don't need to go out there and spend $2,000 on this ultrasonic treatment of your junk it's supposed to improve blood supply. Well, guess what? Okay, it's going to be another one of those pieces of junk, as it were, that are sitting in the corner of a doctor's office before it's all said and done.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes. They advertise on the station too, so we have to be careful about not insulting them too much. Or the G. I'm Dr. Jones from the X, Y, and Z clinic, and guaranteed you're going to walk out of here with an erection. Okay, you know what that means, don't you? Okay, it means that they're going to inject something into you, and then you're going to walk out of there with a prescription for $1,500 worth of Trimix. Now, if you really want to damage, let's just say an intimate moment, you're going to go out there and you have the violins playing, and you have the roses on the table, and the nice bottle of wine, a beautiful steak, and then you excuse yourself so you can shoot your junk with a needle. I mean, I'm sorry.
That's where they put it?
Yeah, where do you think they put it?
Oh my God!
Seriously,
in
you
your
didn't
butt?
know?
I didn't know.
At the base of the old.
Yeah.
I don't have a penis. I don't know.
But you have them often enough.
Yeah, I know.
At least that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Come on, you have to make it part of the sex act.
Gold
Come on, honey,
medal.
let's get that big needle.
I got the trophy.
Well, yeah, it's just kind of
Anyway.
like somebody taps you on the shoulder and you look around. Oh, it's you. Yeah, I get that at home a lot.
What, the needle?
No, it's you.
Oh.
I'm home early. Yes, I know. Okay, so these are the ways that a thoughtful clinician will figure out what is wrong. And can it be done? The answer is yeah. This is not that complicated. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but if I can figure this out, you would hope your doctor could too.
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't, okay, because nobody really cares. And in fact, they probably have a hard time at home anyway.
So they're just going to let you just...
Yeah, nobody wants to hear about your success story. That I got to tell you. So you got to go to somebody with a success story in order to.
Somebody's proud of it.
Yeah,
Good point.
Hey Doc, how's your love life doing? I say, oh man, when I was getting ready to get married, so I went to the doctor to make sure that I would, I was healthy enough and whatnot, and Tess here is 12 years younger than I am. So the doc pulled me aside and I said, listen, Dave, you got to go easy because sex can kill. So I looked at him and said, well, Doc, if she dies, she dies. Yeah, it's all about balance in life, libido. So if there were a scale from 1 to 10, I would probably be pretty close to 10. But, in those visual analog scales. No, but look at it. What's those VASs? You go to the doctor on a scale of 1 to 10. It's just the no pain, actually, or minimal pain.
And on that note,
yeah.
it's time to take a break on Connections before the doc gets too saucy. I know, your wife
I just got the hook.
Yeah, you removed the microphone from his face. Very nice, very nice. We'll be right back for a wrap-up here on libido as a vital sign. No, it's true. Stay right there. What is wrong with you?
Bromocriptine.
This is Connections.
You are a god of a special universe where no one thinks of consequences and where those of us constrained by intelligence and common sense are not allowed.
There's no business like show business, like no business I know.
Oh, sing it, Tom!
Everything about it is a feeling.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to Connections. Relationship radio with a twist. Melissa Fox. Yeah, baby. Hashtag Lizzie said, what?
That's me, boy.
It is you. And we have Dr. David Klein in here with us tonight. What was he doing? Were you okay?
I don't know. That's why I put my hand up. I'm like, I'm done. Slow down. Y'all going way too fast over there. So I guess, okay, so if you were to tell a wife or husband or whatever for the male figure in their life to go to the doctor to make sure that their libido and everything's working, what are the 3 or 4 things that they need to ask to be tested?
Okay, so if you had to have a laundry list
Yes.
of items,
tests.
and you need to appreciate the fact that it's not just the item, but it's relative in ratio to the others.
Correct.
Number 1 would be testosterone. This is for men and women. The list is the same. Testosterone, estradiol, progesterone, prolactin, oddly, cortisol, and then the 6th one would be insulin. And what these things do is they all interact with each other, and because it doesn't make a lot of sense to look at one thing, in singularity, because let's just say that things work as a result of others.
Right.
So testosterone degrades; it metabolizes into estradiol. So you can have an elevated estradiol, but it could be either due to the fact that too much testosterone is spilling into it, or you have way too much testosterone. It could be either one. It could be either too much or too little. Progesterone inhibits the degradation of testosterone to estradiol. So you can block things by adding other things.
So if your sugar is like 300 plus, then you've been
Insulin is probably going to be very high. That will cause prolactin to go up. That will cause things to not work.
Okay.
So insulin goes up, prolactin goes up, and the genitalia go down. And that's the way these things go. With men, estrogen goes up with age. So that's the life, and testosterone decreases. One goes up, the other one goes down. So there are ways that you can deal with these issues, and you have to measure. If you're a carpenter, you measure before you cut the boards.
Right.
If you're a plumber, you measure your pipe before you cut it and thread it. If they still thread pipes anymore, which they probably don't. It's all this plastic stuff, which is why it breaks and people's houses flood. I like iron pipes. You thread them and they last 150 years. So what do you do in medicine? Is you measure. And if you don't see what you need to see, you measure again before you start doing things that are, let's say, remediable. You do something that you can't undo. You really have to be careful how you go about things.
Now,
before you give people labels.
Now, okay, is there a certain level, because I know everybody's different in the world, but is there a certain level where your testosterone and the other ones should be around?
Yes.
Okay.
They're called ranges.
All right.
Okay.
Ranges change with gender, age, and time of day.
Okay.
So a testosterone level is going to be greatest first thing in the morning, actually 3 to 6 a.m. And then as the day goes on, it decreases. So it really does matter when you take it. So the time has to be recorded on the laboratory work, time and date collected.
Okay.
So when you interpret them, you look at that. Well, the first thing that I teach new docs is to look at the timestamp, because if you don't look at the timestamp, you cannot interpret these things.
Oh.
Insulin, you need to look again at the blood sugar to interpret it. If you've got a high insulin and a moderate glucose, blood sugar, that's entirely different than if you see a high insulin and a high glucose. Very important. Hypothyroidism can cause elevations in prolactin. So you have to look at that as well. So many of these things interact in ways that don't necessarily make sense in a linear way, but they do in an elliptical way.
Okay.
What does that mean? It means that everything's connected to everything else. The thigh bone's connected to the foot bone. Well, that is the way we are set up. So these hormones don't operate in singularity. They operate as a combination in a combination lock. And the trick is to figure out what the right numbers are.
All right, so
For
now
ratio. So what's a good range for testosterone?
Yeah.
For women, it would be between 50 and 100 picograms per deciliter. But what's normal for women? You're going to go, okay. Well, the funny thing is the people that write these ranges don't know either. So what they'll do is anywhere from 0 to 40. Well,
That's
0 to 40, that means
huge.
0 to 40 means that it's normal for you to have osteoporosis, dementia, heart disease, and no libido. That's what a 0 means. No, it doesn't mean that. So this is nonsense. So
That
the
is
ranges
dumb.
don't matter. If you look at the ranges, you are going to end up with the wrong issues. So the ratio, so you look at your progesterone, or actually estrogen to progesterone ratio, or estradiol to progesterone ratio. That will tell you whether estrogen dominance is an issue. You look at the testosterone to estrogen ratio in men to see whether or not they have enough testosterone to generate interest, let's say. So you can have the highest testosterone in the world, but if your estrogen is 200, nothing is going to happen, guaranteed. You're going to end up with heart, except for the heart disease and the stroke that's going to happen as a result of the intramuscular testosterone you're probably getting. So there isn't an easy way to do this. And I actually wrote a textbook
So you shouldn't
chapter on
take a
this.
0 as a happy number.
Zero is never a happy
Bad.
number.
Okay.
No, it's like
So-
what's normal in somebody's bank account, and 0 would be included.
Right.
That doesn't make it a good number, though.
Now you gave us 6 things that men should look forward to and ask to be
Coincidentally,
tested for.
women too.
The same ones
Same
for
ones.
women.
Same things.
Okay.
Same things.
Okay.
Okay, so give me the quick wrap. All right, the 30-second.
Okay? When you go to your doctor and complain of drop in libido, if he pushes you away or doesn't answer, she doesn't answer your questions, find somebody who
Right.
can, because it actually means something. It may be a systemic illness, it may be an endocrine imbalance, and it probably is. Could be a psychiatric issue. Depression will do this. Loss of sleep will do this.
Medication,
Medications
too, which
are
you
awful.
can work around that, too.
Antidepressants to treat the depression will cause a drop in
That's
libido.
depressing.
Yeah, it is very depressing.
I mean, think
So
about it.
don't allow yourself to be pushed away. I was going to use the phrase blown off. Okay?
Yeah, it's
So
probably not-
It's probably
yeah.
not appropriate. So, yeah, there are all kinds of ways that we can deal with this. But find somebody who can help you with it because it is not a lost cause.
Now, what if you go to your doctor and they say, well, you only need to be tested for 3 of the 6?
Okay, everybody.
How do you
everybody
explain that to your doctor?
in a constitutional democracy, everybody is entitled to be wrong.
Right. But how do you explain that to your doctor? You just
You
go find
can't.
get a
another
second
doctor.
opinion.
Find somebody who knows
Okay.
what they're doing. You know, if you go to your doctor's office complaining of low testosterone and all they check is your testosterone, you went to the wrong place now, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, you as a consumer have choices.
That's why we don't want government running medication.
No.
Yeah.
You go to the DMV and ask them for an antidepressant. It makes every bit as much sense. So that is what this is all about. So libido is important. The intimacy
Well,
is
yeah,
important.
it's important. It really is.
Yeah.
But it helps everything go, all the body, serotonin, all those love, dopamines, all that.
Well, greases life's skids.
There you go.
Okay, we're done.
Yeah, and on that note, we'll be escorting Dr. David Klein out of the door.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
now
out the studio.
banned from the studio.
Get out. No, you're fine. Anything we talked about tonight, you can find Stages of Life, medicalinstitute.com. You're going to have to say goodbye now.
Goodbye
Good
now.
All right, thank you. Love you, mean it.
Laughing time is over.
There you have it, boys. Case closed.
You've been listening to Connections. Find tonight's show and replays of our past shows on connectionsshow.com.